think like years ago, I did aura readings for a little while for fun because I was realizing I was able to see people's auras, and I don't necessarily always see colors. I see white. And this is something I started practicing when I was pregnant with Orion. And anyways, if I closed my eyes, I was able to tap into more of the color, but then more so of the meaning of the aura, not necessarily just the color and like kind of what was coming up. And that was really fun while it lasted. However, coming to now, say this was like, I don't know, an Indigo was born, so that was like 6 years ago that I started offering that. 7 years ago that I started offering that. And it was kind of just like a blimp. But now, through my clients, with one-on-one clients, I'm noticing a deeper... I'm forming a different relationship with the aura, is what's happening at 122. And so I'll just tell the story about what I saw with my client. Now, this was at the end of the session. The session was like... The energy part of the session was like 30 minutes long. So this was like the end of the session. And I asked that his body and the energies that we were working with to close up what needed to be closed and to leave open what needed to be left open for his own good, for wherever, because I'm not here to say what is and isn't for everyone. Like our body and our connection to God is very intelligent all on its own. I just kind of create space for that communication to come forward. So when I asked the questions about, or I guess it wasn't a question, when I said leave open what needs to be left open, close what needs to be closed, when I said leave open what needs to be left open, I saw his heart. Like his heart was still there. It was almost as if there was this layer that, so say the heart's here, right, obviously. So obviously the heart's over more, but like the center area, so some may call that the heart chakra, but I was like, there was like this radiating space here, and then there was this layer that came up and out and over, and it lapped over him, beside him, on both sides. So it was just like opening up a book, and then that layer connected into his aura. Okay, then I saw the aura light up, or light up is not even the verbiage. Like I'm trying to create language for visions, and sometimes that can be really hard. I saw the aura as a living, breathing organ when this happened. And then I heard, this is what the aura looks like when it is reconnected to the heart. And because at one point my hands were at his head, my eyes were closed, and I was having this conversation, and I just opened my eyes and I looked up like, whoa. And what I saw in the aura was literally like an organ. It had arteries and veins, and there was like blood running through it, and like life running through the aura. And then I had this this wasn't, I mean, I think it was part of the conversation, but there was also this like other knowing outside of that direct conversation I was having with his body and God. That when we reconnect the organs back to the aura, our life like the life force energy is reconnected. I was getting this sense of like, for whatever reason, my mind was immediately going to the liver. And I'm like, ooh, what would the aura look like when we reconnect the liver to the aura as a living, like thinking that the aura is this like living, breathing organ that it still exists, but it's very, like it always exists around us, and like energy is always happening around us. But seeing the aura as like a part of us, not something outside of us, and that it's a living, it's a living, breathing organ. And seeing it as that just blew my mind because for whatever reason, originally I kind of, and even pictured, like pictorial, like when you see images of the aura, it seems like this very ethereal energy. Sometimes there's colors, sometimes it's white, sometimes it kind of looks like the halo, which I think halos, like all the saints that are depicted with like halos and stuff, I believe that is the aura, right? And they have activated that part. Ooh. Okay, so they have the activated aura. So what was happening with this client is the activation of his aura. And then the idea of like moving into like that sainthood. And what I find so interesting is we don't, like with my client sessions, I don't necessarily like, all right, what are we working on today? The da-da-da-da-da-da. Like I kind of like halt people for a moment, not to stop their voice per se, but a lot of times we get stuck in like old stories of like, I want to work on this, and we get just like very heady, right? My purpose is not to live in my head all the time. And when people come to me, they don't come to me to live in their head. And so I really enjoy the process of allowing their body to bring forward what it is that needs to be brought forward. And so for him, naturally, it was like living with his heart open. But really defining we've been defining like what that really means. Because living with your heart open can feel very generic. So we've been getting very clear about like what he's actually asking and what he's actually looking for, and what he would like, how will you know that, like what are the indicators for his life to say that he's living with his heart open, right? And so we've been having conversations around that, and it's not necessarily the topic of every session either. Like we don't consciously choose to talk about his heart every single time, because there's a lot of layers when it comes to energy. But I just found it so fascinating what I get to learn through my clients, and through people as a whole. And I'm finding that one, he is an activator of other people's hearts for sure. Like, and I know damn well that he is a voice of the land. But also, like, I was sensing, okay, this feels pertinent to say. I was sensing that, so we have this idea that when we live with our heart open, that we are going to get hurt all the time because we're vulnerable all the time. When I was seeing his heart actually connect back to his aura, to wake up his aura on a new level and like make his aura become the living, breathing organ, I was getting this sense of like great protection, like the deepest protection you could possibly ever ask for. And I'm realizing that we are existing in like this idea that living with our heart open makes us like weak, especially for men. And like, what kind of world do we live in with a bunch of closed hearted men, right? Like that's not what any of us clearly want. But that living with our heart open and being vulnerable is the protection that we are asking for. And it's actually like the strongest form of protection we could ask for, held within our body, right? Like, because it is life, right? Because God can run through us more. So we're naturally more protected because life is in us. And we can't do much in our world when we're disassociated from our body. We can't. We can't take proper action. We can't have the conversations that we need to be having in order to move forward with growth and harmony. We can't form relationships. And if we can't form relationships with partners or with our family, then we can't form community. And if we can't form community, then we can't form greater protection for ourselves, like that physical protection for ourselves. That means that we have to do everything on our own, and that we're super independent, or we have to become independent because we don't have community, and it's like kind of this forced thing. And I feel like this could just go on and on and on and on, which is what we're living in right now. And then, so the message of all of this is to say that, one, our aura is a living, breathing organ. 2, reconnecting the physicality of our body to the non-physical, which is also part of our body, is human. Hu, light, man, terrestrial, the light terrestrial self, right? Like, you have to reconnect those. And that allows God to be here on earth. That allows God to run through us. And when we disown the energy and we disown our body, which happens, I've not been in many places that like teach the embodiment of energy and the embodiment of the physicality, like bringing, like everything just feels so separated. The only place I have been physically lived experience where people were teaching, practicing this embodiment that I'm speaking on is when I went to go learn primitive skills in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey with Tom Brown, Tracker School. It's the only place that I've ever witnessed something that was worth following. I'm not a follower. I actually I'm not. And my body knew how safe I was. I have never allowed my nervous system to be that restful in a long time. And I went to one of the elders there and one of the leaders, and it was a woman that had come from Canada, and she has her own skills program up there as well, because they have a group of elders that teaches, right? So it's like the way that they set it up is like how humans are, I believe, are supposed to exist. And to my body and to my bones and to my spirit did it feel the most right thing I think I'd ever stepped foot in. Ever. And I'm addicted to trying things. Like, very addicted to trying things. I've tried so many things. I've been to so many chapels and so many churches and so many temples and so many, all these. And I will tell you, in the middle of those woods with people learning and teaching straight from the elemental space, did I find God through humans in their body. And the fact that I felt the okay within my gut, within my heart, within every fiber of me to follow exactly what they are doing, to literally take me into this ice cold creek that we had to clear out with our physical bodies, arms and hands, touching all the muck, like, yes, there was a part of me that was like super scared of like the snakes and like the things that were in there, and it's just like, it's dark because you can't, I mean, it wasn't dark out, it was light out, it was during the day, but it's like the water's dark, it's brackish water, but it's like super clean, it's a spring that runs through there where they like drink the water from, and like we have to move our body through and grab all this gunk out to build the banks to allow more flow of the water so that it stays drinkable, right? And so like we are part of that caretaking in that environment, but yet, and so I have these men in front of me who have been there, you know, years and years and years, trainers in that, and so I'm behind them. And at first everybody's like, yeah, let's go. And so I get in and it's fucking cold. But I'm also like, I'm doing this. Like, this is like, what an experience. So yes, I'm addicted to experiences, and I do it. I just love living life in all its forms, regardless of like my fear, any potential fear. And there was fear there, but also what got me through the whole way, even when I turned around and saw so many people leaving, and every time I would turn around to see it'd be less and less people behind me, what got me through were these men in front of me who have been doing this for a long time, and I'm like, if they're okay, I'm okay. And also thinking like, well, if I'm behind them, whatever gets them, I can get out. But I'm like, you know, they've been doing this for years and years and years and years and centuries. Like, this is what our people have been doing, and they're just doing what they had learned to do, to cleanse the water, to build the land, right? To like plant stuff to keep the banks where they are, because the roots and blah, blah, blah. Like these people are in tune with nature and the spirit that runs through it, God. I'm following them. I'm going to do what they're doing. I also, just to go back to why I even started this whole thing, you know, I'm sure like, because we're all human, there's probably many parts in their life they don't feel like they're like doing well in. The individuals that I was following, the men, I'm like, but now what I am seeing is I was around a bunch of men whose hearts were reconnected to their aura. And my nervous system can feel it. Therefore, I knew I was safe to follow. And I had never experienced that before until entering into those spaces. And we've been like a couple times at this point. And also going through these experiences has built my nervous system's capacity to like hold these experiences in a way that when I come home, I can still feel safe. And then I can take that and do what they did. And show others what it feels like to feel safe. And I'm not necessarily shoving people into the bank of water and having them follow me through to like cleanse the water. And although that sounds fun, I think that would be a great great experience. I do enjoy making people uncomfortable for their betterment. I like pushing people through experience, because I really enjoy seeing seeing their faces at the end of it, of like, wow, I fucking did it. Like, and it just builds like a real resilience, not like a trauma-based one. And it builds like confidence and like willpower and like, oh, I can do more. Like and I think it reconnects us to our body too when we go through these things, especially when we're doing these hard things within nature, because I think nature is like the biggest thing that a lot of humans are scared of. So, yeah, that's it. I'm done. Channel closed.